Right, so after a very interesting morning and a refreshing coffee, we're going to continue with our second morning session now. So good morning again, everyone. It is my pleasure now to introduce our distinguished guest speaker on my far left, Dr. José Belda Medina. He's a senior lecturer at the University of Alicante in Spain, for those of you who may not know. What I can say about him, well, with over 25 years of experience in applied linguistics, Dr. Belda Medina is a leading expert in both computer-assisted and technology-enhanced language learning, if that's right, if I'm saying it right, both areas. His extensive body of research explores the transformative role of emerging technologies in language education, with a particular focus on generative AI, chatbots, and augmented reality. Since 2021, Dr. Belda Medina has headed the Digital Language Learning Research Group, known as DL2, which pioneers innovative approaches to equipping educators with the technological and pedagogical skills needed for today's classrooms. His current work centers on building adaptive and mobile-assisted learning environments that empower both teachers and students through AI-driven tools. And here I want to make a little note to all the students present here. You are here on your role as students, but also very soon you are prospective teachers as well. So you have to look at these things from a double perspective. That would be a good idea, right? As we delve into today's theme on generative AI in education, and particularly how to enhance teachers with technological and pedagogical skills, Dr. Belda Medina will guide us through the opportunities and the challenges of integrating AI tools such as ChatGPT or QReport or Almanac to support personalized, inclusive, and engaging learning experiences. So please now join me in welcoming Dr. José Belda Medina. You may start as soon as you like.
All right, thank you. Thank you very much. Let me first of all thank you first to Professor Fernando Fraga that was here before, and especially to Professor Maria Ángeles Gómez González for the invitation, kind invitation, to both of us, in fact. We are colleagues and we work together, as I was telling our previous speakers, Chiara and Melinda. And it was very interesting just to see the presentations and see the many things in common. So I'd like also to thank Professor Elsa González and also Professor Susana Doval and the organizing committee for this IWoDA’25 conference. And I think it's a great opportunity to see people here from a very different perspective. My presentation, as you can see, is named Generative AI in Education, Enhancing Teachers' Technological and Pedagogical Skills. And when my colleague, Maria, she told me about this conference, and I asked her, as we usually do, about the audience and the type of people and so on, because in the end, we attend and we go to different conferences, we organize different conferences, but the audience is different. And we see sometimes that even my students, we had, Maria, she was a part of our keynote speaker last year in a conference we organized at the University of Alicante. And we see that sometimes our students, in fact, are not really paying attention. This is part of their obligation and so on. So I asked Maria if I could use a tool that is called Nearpod, and I don't know if you're familiar with this tool. That's a tool that I started using probably 6 years ago, something like that. And it was quite useful when we had the COVID-19 pandemic and we had to teach online. Because, you know, that was, as I think that Fernando Fraga was talking about the blackout and the apagón and so on. But I still remember the COVID-19 pandemic 4 years ago, something like that. And some of my colleagues struggling and trying to use, for example, example, the PDF and video streaming and all these kind of things. And the students were like, I have to sit down here for 4 hours in the morning and listen to this person on the screen. I'm not interested, and so on. So, and I understand I was trying to use traditional materials in a very different format, which is online classes and so on. So my perspective was obviously different, and I told them we're going to try a new, different tool, which is called Nearpod. They didn't know about Nearpod. I can tell you that now most of my colleagues at the University of Alicante, including my colleague Ramon Calvo, they all use Nearpod. I actually did that. It's not the only one, but this is one of the, probably the most interesting that you can use because it integrates, for example, virtual reality, and it integrates different types of technologies, as you will see. And also from the teacher's perspective, it's very good because once you finish the lesson, you get all the results. And you get the names. It's like a virtual classroom. You get the names, you get the results, you get the statistics. I can download everything. I can be teaching online, and I can still ask people to participate, so they'll need to record their voices. And I don't have time when I'm teaching online, obviously, to tell them, okay, what's your opinion? And I have like 40 students still waiting for them and say like, you know, this is kind of boring, all right? But I just want to make sure that people participate, and in the end, I have a tool that can reduce my workload, and I can just have like evidence for the different, like assessment and so on, right? And that's, I think it's very interesting, okay? So I'm going to ask every student and hopefully teacher candidate here, prospective teacher, please use your smartphones. As I tell my students, I'm sure that you all have smartphones here because I was looking around and I could see that some of you were multitarea, doing different things, right? Let's just leave it there. And I would like just to go there, please, to Google and put Nearpod student, okay? And this is a message for you that there's some kind of activities. So I may call your name anytime, because I'll be asking questions, and I'll say, okay, I don't know your names, Pedro, Maria, could you tell us about your experience about that, okay? So if you go to Nearpod student, just Google it, right? And then you will get this one here that you see on the screen, Únete a la lección, right? And then you go and you click on this one, and that's the code that you need to use, right? 4M3CQ. And then that's when you put your name. If I put this one here, I'll just do it for you. So we all are in, so I'll put this one here, join the lesson. That will be me in this case, José, all right? Hopefully it works, there you go. And that's my name here. Nicknames, no nicknames, okay? We can put that there. You want to use the code, this one here? Yes? 4M3CQ, okay? And interesting thing about that, as I was telling Melinda before, and it was quite interesting because you can see that one of the major challenges about technologies is that you don't want to use a technology that is not, or a tool that is not integrated with other tools and technologies, right? Because it's time consuming and it's really difficult. Now this one, for example, Nearpod, it's integrated with, you can see Google Classroom. Most of my teachers, one of my colleagues and primary and secondary school teachers, they use Google Classroom, right? So they have that one. They use Google Classroom. So they can, for example, they can generate a lesson, they can combine a lesson, they can share the lesson through a safe space like Google Classroom or Microsoft Teams, as you can see there, right? You can even, and I was telling my students, that was with the COVID-19 pandemic, I was telling my students, I don't care about your physical, I don't need to see your face. We're teaching online, but I want to see that you are in, which means that we're teaching online. So every 5 minutes, there's gonna be an activity. Forget about Kahoot, it's old. Right, when I tell my students about Kahoot, they say, that's what I did in high school. This is like Facebook to me. And I say like, forget about that, okay? So you'll see different things. But that's what I told my students is, I don't really need to see your faces. I don't care if you are in bed, that's fine, because some of you are teaching at 8 in the morning. And I can tell you some, anecdotes about that, as Ramon told me, because I had like 300 students in education at University of Alicante at that time. And some of them, of course, because of the tendency, like with other classes, they pretended, they just put that so on, oh, my camera is not working, blah, 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 those kind of things. And I said, I don't need your comm. I need to see your results on the screen every 5 minutes. If I don't see your results on the screen, then there's one thing that you can do like teachers. And I said, like, click, you're out, and you're not in this class anymore. So they were like, all of them using WhatsApp and saying, hey, you have to just connect because, they're asking questions about that. So, but it turned to be very interactive, right? And I've been using this also with my classes online, with American universities, with Poland, with the Czech Republic, seminars and so on, okay? So let's try this one, hopefully maybe in a few, and also something interesting about this is that you can build lessons, if you're like colleagues, for example. That's what we do, Ramon and I. We can build lessons together. We can share our lessons and all that, okay? All right, so hopefully, let me check it. So this was the code, as I said before, and I got like 21 people here. 1, 2, 3, whoever that is, all right? So that's Carlos, Esperanza, Maria, Natalia, Rosie, Anastasia, Cristina. Oh, there you go, 23 is going up. So Natalia, Freire, blah, blah, and so on, all right? So that's it. I have the list. I don't actually tell my people, when they come to my class, you need to sign or so on, because I put the first thing is my Nearpod, and they know that. So in the end, when they come to my lesson by the end of the year, and sometimes they say, but I was in the class or things like that. I said, let me check. And I just go there and I check the Nearpod and I said, okay, I can generate, Excel spreadsheet with all your results and everything. And, not only that, it's not just being present, which is something very, let me say Spanish, it's just being active. So it's not being that you're in a class so it's just being active. Every 5 minutes, there is an activity, and I need to see that you're connected and you're participating online. If you're not, then that's when I tell the students, I don't know, Sara Garcia, she's probably here. And I say, Sara, I don't see your results. Sara, I don't see your results. Third time I say Sara, then, I go to Sara, this one here, and I say, eliminar. And then that's when my students say, oh, but I was in a class, and I said, I don't care. I mean, it's not being in a class, it's just participating. That's what I want to see. And I don't have time, obviously, to ask every single student. We don't have time for that, but I want to see that I get your answers, your results, okay? I can check them later, okay? Very good. It's a joke, just sorry about that. Probably, I hope you don't hate me then after that because they will be asking this. Okay, all right, that's the Nearpod thing here. Very good. So thank you again, as I said before, this is Generative AI in Education, enhancing teachers' technological and pedagogical skills. And this, in part, is funded by a research innovation program that we have. My name is José Belda, and as they mentioned before, I'm the director, the leader of a research group, which we both funded, that it's called Digital Language Learning, DL2, at the University of Alicante. This is a research group, and we cover different areas. You see, technology, enhanced language learning. It's kind of an umbrella term. It covers everything, covers like computer-assisted language learning, mobile-assisted language learning. We also do assistive technology. We have some students now doing research about technology, and it was very inspiring again to see when Melinda was talking about, for example, children with autism. I have one student actually who was working on Minecraft, which there's a version for students with autism, Oddcraft. And it was very interesting just to see that. Now we have some students working on that, technology and special needs, right? And also virtual reality, augmented reality. We are around 30 researchers from the University of Alicante, but also from other universities, and also from Germany, the Czech Republic, Malta, Turkey, Hong Kong, etc. And we participate in different research projects. If you click on this one, that's good. I don't need to give you the you just click on your screens, and then it will open a new window. There you go. So you can actually click on your smartphones, and hopefully it will open a new window, new tab, so you can see this is a research project, okay, the research group here, and that's our team. So we got like people here, that's me and Ramon, my colleague here. All right, so that's people from the University of Alicante, and then we have also externos, people from around the world. Okay, so we have people from Turkey, from Czech Republic, from Poland, United States, Jauregui from Holland, so we have different people. And for me, I have to tell you that I'm proud of this one, assistance. And that's, for me, that's the most important thing. It's we have a good number of students, undergraduate, postgraduate, master's students who just volunteer. That's kind of strange, actually, to have students come to you and tell you, hey, can I just, even like first year or second year, can I be a member of your group? Can I do something? And I say, yes, of course you can. And they help us, for example, with conferences, TFGs, TFMs. We just try to get them involved, right? I'm very proud of them. I can tell you PhD, of course, so for us. And I'll be showing, hopefully, a couple of examples about AI generated videos created by some of them here, okay? So as I said, this is the research group. You can explore later. And this is one of the projects that we're finishing this year, which is called Educación. And it's a 3-year project about the integration of augmented reality. And if you click on that one again, you click on this one, it will open this project about Educar, that's augmented reality. And if you scroll down, you will see, and I'll just play that only like 1 minute, one of the videos, right? If you go, for example, to Recursos in Educar, it'll show you, for example, different examples of how our students, teacher candidates, they are using augmented reality to teach, for example, in the classroom, to teach English, history, biology in English, right? And this is an example. It's not related to AI, but just want to show that to you if you want to explore that later. This is a video created by our students last year. They chose the topic. They said, okay, you have to select the topic. You have to select the potential students, what you want to do. Then they take that, as Melinda previously was saying, and we tell the students, now you need to go to the real classroom, and you need to do that with the children and with the students, and they come back and they analyze all the data. So this was, as you can see, I'll play that. It's one of the examples, it's a good example, and then they have to create a video about their experience, okay? How to create augmented reality.
Hello everyone, this is group number 6, formed by Marta Rabasco, Isabela de Bonis, Nuria Quesada, and Elisa Jover, and today we're going to show you our teaching unit through augmented reality. We've based our project on a learning unit about ancient Egypt. Therefore, we've created a realistic miniature model of the Giza pyramids, where you encounter the characteristic scenery of Egypt, composed of the 3 main pyramids alongside the Sphinx, as well as numerous palm trees and camels. In order to start with the unit, students need to be provided with a technological device in order to be able to scan the QR code and access the 3D model. As soon as the code is scanned, the following 3D image appears and the students will instantly observe the visual example. The learning unit is divided into 8 different activities that have a specific order to follow. First of all, once the augmented reality image is described, students will have to click on the first link, which gives them access to an introductory video about ancient Egypt. Our aim with this first link is to provide visual and engaging learning.
That's it. All right. So that's an example. As I said, there's many videos. So students actually choose the topics, etc., and then they go to the real classroom. They implement that with children, and they come back and they share their experiences with us. Okay, very good. So that's one of the processes I said before. Now, this is a presentation overview. Hopefully, it's an introduction about generative AI, technology-oriented learning theories. I'll just talk about 2 or 3 of them. Generative AI in education. Maria told me that we were going to have like people from primary, secondary, and higher education. So I tried just to prepare different options for you. And there's ethical considerations and future directions, okay? Now, the objectives are to understand the role of generative AI, explore classroom applications, discuss benefits, share practical tools, and discuss future directions. Quite ambitious, just for a very short period of time, okay? Let's see. Good, so that's where you come. First one, you see there on your screens, please. And this is a question for you. What knowledge and academic experience do you have with AI? You can put that in English or in Spanish or in Gallego. We don't speak Gallego, all right? But okay, we'll try our best and so on. So please write down your answers, share that with us, all right? And I'll just give you like 20 seconds and so on just to see your answers about, there you go, excellent. Carmen said not much, very good. All right, so I can see, again, this is what we call instant feedback and real time, okay? So we get the results here, as we said before. Teresa said ChatGPT for dummies, all right? Thank you, Teresa, all right? Lydia said we're familiarized with ChatGPT. Very good, Lydia. Okay, I don't know what kind of, and so on, familiarized with ChatGPT, but that's good. For academic purposes, Marta, Rosie, a little bit of ChatGPT. All right, very good. ChatGPT, there you go, Unai, DeepSeek, Gemini, para diferentes tareas. Muy bien, Unai, that's very good. Little experience, Paula. Perplexity, Miguel. All right, very good. Not much experience. I have like a very wide range of answers. Natalia, I started to use AI a couple of weeks ago for creating songs. Like Melinda said before, very interesting. Luth said, I've run an article using, that's Luth, don't say that. There's like teachers here watching. So you say, I've run an article trying to check how this ChatGPT behaves about Valle Inclán. All right, very good. Not much experience with AI. It uses AI for academic purposes, no experience in class. Primary infants English teacher, I've used ChatGPT for different educational purposes. Familiar with ChatGPT. I know says virtually none outside of entertainment, blah, 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 and so on. Okay, very good. So good answers here. So it gives us like different opinions about that, all right? And now, you know, the key issue here is I know that you're in. All these people still, you're now here with me, whether it is in my classroom or whether it is online. And even like some of my students that I was telling you, they said, Jose, I can't go to your class today. You know, because I have, I don't know, and so on. I said, don't worry. I just shared the link with them. And that's something which is even called student-based. You can generate a link, you can share that with the student, and then they can complete the lesson once they finish, and you will get the results, all right? So there's no excuse for that. I can't go. Some of them, I can tell you, some of my students were gym, the park, on campus. All right, very good, but I can see your results that you're actually participating, okay? Very good. Lo uso en investigación, Fernando. All right, very good. Contenido específico. Excellent. Thank you, Fernando. Very good. Right, good. Good answers. That's true. Okay. No, it's actually a funny thing is that we always say like, nadie usa. So just the nadie usa. Yes, yes, nobody. Think about that. It's interesting that, you know, I said intentionally AI. I didn't say ChatGPT. But that's probably the first thing that comes to your mind. It's like, AI, it's ChatGPT. Yogur is Danone. No. Right? So it's very interesting about that. Just like people still associate AI with ChatGPT. Now let's imagine 4 different scenarios. This is something that I tell my students and especially teachers. Now imagine you are future teachers and I say, no one, the first one, no AI. It's a classroom, but there is no AI. It's impossible. Right, I know. But there's no AI, the good old times. There's no AI. I don't have to worry about my students using ChatGPT for the written assignments or things like that, right? So, I don't know. Second is an AI experienced student. We have AI experienced students, right? I'm a teacher, but my students actually know more than I do about AI, right? The third scenario is the teacher actually knows more than the students about AI. And I know and I can predict and so on, like how are they using AI? I'm not saying ChatGPT, I'm saying AI, right? And the fourth is, well, we have a classroom where teachers and also students, they are somehow experienced, they know about AI. They know how to use AI and some of them. So we have like 4 different options here. Now this is a poll for you. Which option would you choose? If I said, which stage are you in now? Or in Gallego is, en cal de estos 4 escenarios te atopas como profesor? Sorry about that, okay? So which one would you say, right? And you can choose one. Would you say like, well, I think that in my class, we're more experienced, like the students are more experienced than the teachers? Or no, wait, the teachers are more experienced in AI than the students? I don't know, which one do you think, right? And let me see your results here. Oh, there you go. So most of you said B, 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 excellent. Some of you said A, so I can still see some of you say B, all right, good. There you go, D, some of them. All right, that's it. When I click on this one, compartir, when there's a quiz, and I do all my quizzes online, you instantly get the results. Correct, incorrect, everything. And then when I finish the lesson, I get also the statistics, all right? So that's it, very good. So anyway, there's no answers here, but you could see this one here, right? So most of you said B, some of you said probably D, all right? Which means B, it's basically that the students are more experienced than the teachers. Some of you said also that teachers and students, and that's changing. I can tell you that 4 or 5 years ago, when I told my students about AI and all this, some of them said like, no AI, I said ChatGPT, and most of them said like chatbots, ChatGPT, I don't know. Now, when I go to my class like first week, and I tell them about ChatGPT, and so, I know ChatGPT, DeepSeek, Gemini, DALL-E, blah, 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 and so on. That's changed a lot, of course, okay? So that's good. Good, now let's see. The general overview. What is generative AI? Basically, okay, is a type of artificial intelligence that can generate, and I put that again on purpose. It doesn't say create. It says it can generate new content like text, image, videos, etc., based on what it has learned from existing data. But it doesn't say, we say generative AI, we don't say creative AI, all right? So learns from patterns in existing data, as you see, generates something new that resembles human human-created content and predicts what is likely to come, but it doesn't think. Yet, so it doesn't think, as we see now. Now, where does generative AI get its information? Well, like training on large text data sets, like large language models, etc. Pattern recognition, no fact retrieval, depends on the different tools, as we know. No memory or personal or past user data unless fine-tuned. Right? Specifically, when you sign up, you create, for example, an account with ChatGPT 4 version and so on. That's when you can store the information and you can use that as an assistant. Or the 4 option that we use, for example, now we can create our ChatGPT, right? And I could tell you that if you ask, for example, my colleague Ramon and I, there's no life without AI now for us, right? For me, especially because of all this, not only for academic reasons, also management, blah, 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 and so on, students, many things, right? Important reminder, it's not a search engine, although this is changing. It's quite interesting that we see more students now, instead of like Google something, now this is becoming old. Most of my students say like, I use a chatbot, I use like, whether it is like, and so on, right? There's many reasons for that. But the first one is that there is no, so far, there's no spam, publicidad, blah, 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 one. You Google something, you can spend many hours trying to get something, and it's a waste of time, actually. So again, there's advantages, but also there's problems about that, okay? And always, you need to fact check and critically use all this, all right? Now, we have some of the concepts related, very briefly go through that. Large language models, so generative AI obviously is based on large language models. And it's an advanced AI system trained on massive amounts of data to understand and generate human-like language, you see. So there's trained on billions of words and data, predictive capability, conversational skills. And probably most people are familiar with GPT, which is owned by OpenAI, ChatGPT, but there's many others. We have GPT, Gemini, Claude, they all are competing now. The Chinese with DeepSeek and so on, right? So this is quite fascinating, just to be honest about that, right? You can actually see a screen here, how powerful they are. If you check, for example, GPT-2, it was based on 1.5 billion parameters, which may think that's a lot. But GPT-3 was on 17.5 billion parameters, so that's becoming more and more powerful. Why? Because the way it works is that the more we interact with them, the more they learn from us. We're basically providing data, right? And that's how they become more and more powerful, of course, right? So that's the big competition, of course, in this case, but they're becoming more powerful, right, in the future, right? So we'll see that. What is a chatbot? Just that, well, it's a computer program or AI system designed to simulate human-like conversation through text or voice. It can answer questions, assist with tasks, or simulate interactive dialogue. We can use that in language for practices, replica, cookie, that my students, with the COVID-19 pandemic, I told them, you need to use and download 4 different chatbots. And they were at home, some of them. We didn't have like face-to-face classes, but they were like some of them using different types of chatbots. And it was interesting to see them. They could tell the difference between some of them. And it was addressed for children, or WISA, for example, that is used by the National Health Service in the UK, for example. It's a kind of psychological. Some of them are actually using this one because they had a stress and all that. So there are different types of chatbots, of course, that they could use, right? So you see, for example, chatbot types. And this is just to explain that when people tell me AI is ChatGPT, and I say, no, as I said before, yogurt is not Danone, or you applied, right? So obviously there's different types of ChatGPT, as you see here, depending on interaction mode, text-based, voice-based, and some voice-enabled, deployment, knowledge, service provided, purpose, complexity, blah, 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 and so on. They're becoming more and more specialized. And now you can basically find a ChatGPT or an AI tool for any single thing, okay? Just everything that you can think of, okay? Now, there's modern chatbot applications, as you see here. Now, I am quite interested in the second one, for example, health. This, you see screen number 2, it's called Endurance. And that was a chatbot created by Russian engineers, specially addressed to people with Alzheimer, like my mother. And that's a terrible story, as you probably know, unfortunately, about people with Alzheimer. Why? It's very difficult to provide all the care and attention that people, obviously, with Alzheimer, they require. I have a life. I have a son, 8 years old. I have to work. And it's very difficult, actually, to provide that 24/7 and so on. Now, this chatbot, for example, Endurance, created by the Russian engineers, was a chatbot to recreate, to be used with people to keep their memories alive. Right? So you could actually interact with the chatbot, the patients, like people, and it was just providing personalized dialogues with that person, like my mother, who comes from a little town in Valladolid, so they could actually talk about that and so on. And it's also providing information, data, to the neurologists, to the doctors. How often can you see, for example, a doctor if you suffer like once a month, twice a month? That's very difficult. And we know that Alzheimer, like many other illnesses, it's not the same. Like you need to adjust, for example, right, the medicines and so on. It's very difficult to do that. But if you are a doctor and you get all that information, then it's actually helping you to make decisions about that. So this is one of the examples, for example, about chatbots in health and so on. So we have many others: marketing, finance, tourism, education, etc. Right? So let's see, these are like 3 different types of chatbots. Web-based, that you see here, this is Cookie, original called Mitsuku. We have autonomous like Alexa, Amazon. The last one, my son, 8 years old, he's now very familiar with chatbots, the alpha generation. He wakes up, he goes to the kitchen, and he says, Alexa, I want to, dance and hear the song, blah, 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 and so on. Alexa says, okay, Mark. And he will be dancing and so on. We didn't have that, obviously, when we were small. So that's kind of like really very different, all right? And then we have also chatbots integrated into apps, Instagram, TikTok, Discord, etc. Okay. Now, chatbots are also integrated, and that's again going back to Melinda and Chiara, what they were saying about virtual learning, and also about virtual reality. The fascinating thing for me about technology is how you can combine them. And chatbots now, for example, and AI, it's also being integrated with augmented reality, with virtual reality, like the AirPod, this one here. So this is actually, you can see, and you can do that on your smartphones, and it's a 3D image, as I said before, that you can actually work on that. It's giving you a more, what we call experiential learning. Okay, it's immersive. That's what we call immersive. It's a more experiential, right? As you can see here, that's an example. And some chatbots actually you can launch, for example, with Monday and so on. Look, you can have an avatar, which is an augmented reality, and you can talk to that person just to practice your English or Spanish. Okay, so that's the integration of different technologies, as you see here with, in this case, right, with augmented reality and with virtual reality, okay? That's based on Nearpod, in fact. So I'll skip that because you answered that before. Now, something interesting, if we think about ChatGPT, the first one you see, ChatGPT 4, that's the 2023. As I said, if you think about GPT-1, GPT-2, probably nobody actually heard about that. They never used that. It was ChatGPT 3, especially 3.5. when people started using that. Why? Because I can interact as a chat. It's a chatbot. It's a GPT, is a large language model that has been turned into a chatbot. And I can use that and I can interact, right? So this is like Windows. I can open a window and then I can interact and so on, okay? So that's made it easier. Now, the other one, just check how long it took for ChatGPT to reach 100 million users, 2 months. In 2 months, ChatGPT, it was used by 100 million users around the world. You compare that, for example, with TikTok, 9 months, Instagram, 2.5, WhatsApp, 3.5 years, just in 2 months. So what I'm saying is that some people say, like in the no AI, not ChatGPT, but it's here, and it's not going to go, all right? It will just be here, all right? To just give you some figures about that, as I said before. Applications of AI, education, gaming. My colleague Ramon, he will be talking about that, video games, robotics, agriculture, healthcare, etc., as I said before, okay? So there are different types of chatbots. You see here, there's different types of, of AI, generative AI, based on text, based on their video, images, and so on, right? Now, people who tell me AI, and they say ChatGPT, but now we have what we call AI aggregators, like search engines, like this one here. You can actually click on that one. If you click on this one, please, on your smartphones, it will open a new window, and voila, you have, for example, different types of AI tools. And that's what I tell my students. That's when I can see their transition. They're becoming like experts, because they're not just taking like there's AI, it's only ChatGPT. No. They can tell me, I know many other options apart from ChatGPT. So you go, for example, to these ones. This is one of examples. There's many others. So you go to Educación. You click on Educación and you scroll down and you can see Paraphraser tool, Target, Beautiful AI, blah, blah, blah. There are many. And I don't know, of course, all of them. Right? So that's the thing. I can tell you that I'm subscribed to some of these groups, and every night when I check my email, I get around 200 new AI tools, depending on what you want it for, okay? It's something like this, right? So again, when you think about AI and ChatGPT, that's old. Right? There's many other options, of course. Okay, so that's an AI aggregator, as I said before. Now, there's like technology learning theories and frameworks, right? And I wanted to share let me show this to you. There's 3 different frameworks from a pedagogical perspective, and hopefully you're familiar with them, as you said you were with AI. So you see there's like 3 different frameworks in education that I tell my students that they need to think. The first one is to think about it. The first one is called, and you probably know that, Bloom's taxonomy, which was divided into the lower order thinking skills and the higher order thinking skills. So we use technology and so on just to remember, understand, apply, analyze, evaluate, and finally create, right? So what happens here is we have the digital version of Bloom's taxonomy. On the right-hand side, you can see that one there. And I tell my students, why? Because I see most of the educators, they use technology in a passive way, which is basically they take their students as recipients of what they do. What I am interested in is that I want my students to use technology in a transformative way, which is that they can use different tools to create knowledge, to create lessons, to create videos, to do something different, not just to receive information, right? So that's a very different aspect about that. That's to create, as I said before, okay? That's probably for most of it, not just be sitting there and they're watching and so on. No, you need to do something with that, all right? So you see, this is one of the models. The other one is called TPAC, and I'm sure that you're familiar with the TPAC, and it stands for Technological, Pedagogical, Content Knowledge. And the theory is that a good teacher today should have a combination of 3 different dimensions, right? Content knowledge, you're teaching history, you should know about history. Pedagogical, you know how to teach history. And the most important is technological knowledge. What kind of technological tools do I need to use to teach history or biology? And research, and I didn't want to provide results about that, because you can read our articles if you want to get bored about that. But, research about that, it shows us that the most important problem, the problem that we find is with the intersections. We have 3 sections, general sections, CK, TK, PK. The main problem we find with the teacher candidates and in-service teachers, pre-service teachers, and in-service teachers is the TPK, technological, pedagogical knowledge, which basically means I know about, I know English, I know history, I know about technology. I don't know how to use AI in my classrooms, for example, to teach history. Okay, that's a TPK, as I said before. Okay, and the last one is a Samir model, which stands for substitution, augmentation, modification, and redefinition. And again, that's again insisting on the same problem, which is you can use technology at the substitution level. Right? I use that just to provide my students something that they need, a PDF or something that they need to memorize. But they're not using technology in a transformative manner. Okay? So that's the difference. That's redefinition, as you see here. Okay, those are the pedagogical, obviously, aspects, and I didn't want to, but you will see a screen about, okay? Now, what is about generative AI in education? and I always tell my students on the conferences is that we have 5 different types of professors. We have the resistant, the skeptic will say, no, AI. Some of my colleagues actually said that 4 years ago. And remember, Ramon knows that because when I was talking about ChatGPT, and also not only ChatGPT, Gemini, Anthropic, like Claude, and so on. Some of my colleagues, now that they don't hear what we're saying here at the University of Alicante, but they're saying like, no, AI, blah, blah, and so on. So what happened was, and I said, you will need to change your strategy, your methods. And last year, we decided that the TFG at the University of Alicante, that used to be 8, 9 points out of 10, written assignment, defense was optional, said like, now 5 or 6 points, and now it's obligatory. You need to come and tell us about your TFG. Why? Because people were using not only ChatGPT, but many others. They just submitted the assignment, but there was no oral presentation about that. That's the result of this one here. So, but they said, no, and so on. So we have the resistant, the curious, as you see here, explorer, interested, but still has no practical experience. Then we have the adapter, the innovator, as I said before, creates student-centered tasks using AI. And finally, the leader. And the leader is guides colleagues, evaluate AI tools, as I told you before. So there's an AI tool about this and that. Yes, there's one about this one here. Tell the students about this, right? So we also have, in terms of, and this is also a question that I was asking Melinda, there's concerns about AI, data protection, privacy, and all that. And I always tell my colleagues is that as an expert, you have to consider 3 different levels, right? How can I integrate AI? It depends. Primary education, as you see here, is explorers, like children, okay? So my son, as I told you, is actually using Alexa, and Alexa is a chatbot, right? So they're kind of like occasional, right? Like teacher-mediated curiosity play, like my son is actually doing. And I want to make sure that he gets familiar with chatbots in the good way, not just to do something like, I can't tell you that I get very nervous when I see some of my students doing like TikTok and things like that, because I said, what are you doing in my classroom? Just like things like that. That's not really educational. I don't care. I'm in favor. I like to use technology in a transformative manner, not just to do all this like things like that, all right? So as I said, that's primary education. Secondary education, in this case, are active users. Most of them secondary education, they have smartphones, they blah, 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 TikTok, Instagram, and so on, right? And then we have higher education, and you need to make sure that they become critical. You enhance their critical thinking skills about obviously limitations, risks, and so on of AI, all right? But you can basically design different aspects here as I see it, okay? And that's what I tell them. It's just like, it's aid, adapt, inspect, design, and educate, all right? But for that, you need to know different tools, and you need to tell them, okay, think about that before you use not only ChatGPT, there are many other options, as I said before, okay? Now, when we talk about, this is actually a wheel. Find out like how many different tools you find there, many. And you see the outer circle, you have the Samir model, substitution, augmentation, modification, redefinition. And the inner circle, you have the Bloom's taxonomy, evaluate, create, remember. An AI can be used from a teacher's perspective or from a student's perspective, right? There's like different options and models as you can see here. You can find that easily. There's many options as I said before, okay? Now that's in primary education. I'll go very quickly through some of them as Ramon will take over after me. And I wanted to show some of these examples to you. But now with, for example, in primary education, some of you, I don't know if you'll be teaching primary education, there is Magic School AI. I don't know if you're familiar with Magic School AI. It's one of them, very popular. TWI, which is for English teaching, QReport, Almanac, etc. And there's like different examples of how, from the teacher's perspective, how to use AI in this case, right? That's from a teacher's perspective, how to use some of these options here, as you can see, right? And also from the student's perspective, just how to create that. So if you see, for example, and you click on this one again, and it will open Magic School AI. And if you go to Magic, don't do that, you don't have time. I just wanted to make sure that you can actually, you can have your windows there. If you want later, just you can check that. So I don't need to write down all these names. But if you go, for example, to Magic School AI, right here, you see that you can find many different AI tools, scroll down, that will probably reduce your workload. If I need to create something, materials and so on, right, I can easily do that using some of these AI tools. And in fact, it's fascinating that you have Reina. What is Reina? Reina is a chatbot. It's text-based. It's not voice-enabled like ChatGPT. But that speech technologies, you know, very short period of time, we will see that. So Reina, actually, you can ask anything in Spanish too. I tried that in Gallego before, and it did. And you can ask questions about something in Gallego, and Reina is a chatbot integrated with an AI tool, will answer. You can ask, can you prepare a lesson for my students' second primary education in, I don't know, La Coruña, Santiago de Compostela, based on the LOMLOE? And I will actually find the LOMLOE with the requirements, the blah, 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 and things like that, okay? So does it mean that I can now relax and say that AI and Reina and ChatGPT is gonna do everything for me? No. It's like translations. The filter now is that you will need to guide, and you will need obviously to double check about the producers and prompts and so on. So that's an example, as I said before, which is partly free, right, with Reina AI. Now, we also have some of the benefits, as you can see here, but also limitations, right? Over-reliance, risk of hallucinations and so on, data privacy concerns, of course, as we say. So that's why we use also, we always use AI under guidance, right? Just to supervise basically what the children are doing in the classroom, or when I am with my son, for example, with Alexa, and so on, okay? That's with primary education. Secondary education that you see here, and these are the heavy consumers, as we know, smartphones, blah, 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 and so on, tablets, and so on, not always for educational purposes, as we know, right? So the heavy consumers, you see they can use also Magic School AI, Teachermatic, Diffit. I love this one. Diffit is actually Diffit, if you check that one, is an AI tool that you can create a lesson and you can tell, can you adapt that lesson for a student, for example, with autism, or a student with visual impairment, or a student with hearing impairment. And I'll just provide that, and I will do that for you, for example. That's different, okay? So it's interesting to see some of these tools that I can help you. They can just basically, as I said, help you just do things like that, all right? So you see, this is the one that I told you. You click on that one, again, Teachy, and you see here. And again, I'll do that, but you can keep that on your smartphones. And this is, again, one that comes with a chatbot. As you can see here, Teachy. My students love that one. When I told them about this, oh, there you go, that's security. But when you tell them about a Teachy, and you see this one here, it comes also with a chatbot, again. And I tried that also with LOMLOE and also with, as you can see, with Spanish, all right? So there's a parrot here, which is a chatbot, and you can ask questions about that, and I'll help you with all these different options here, as I said before, okay? And I wanted to share, now this is funny, it's called CoGrader. There are many other options, CoGrader, Academic GPT, there are many other options. When I talk to my colleagues from the University of West Bohemia in the Czech Republic, and I go there to teach them on seminars and all that, practical seminars with the University of Memphis, in fact, and I see that some of my colleagues from the Czech Republic, they spend a lot of time grading, written assignments. They spend a lot of time, and that's fine for me. I think that's a good exercise. But for me, it's like, why don't you use some of these tools like Academic GPT or CoGrader so you can get the first result? I'm not interested particularly in grading, for example, that there is a spelling mistake or something. I want to know, why did that student make that spelling mistake? What's the reason behind? And I can talk and I can help that person just obviously to avoid that problem in the future. But grading basically and things like that, which are automatic, takes a lot of time. So that's what I told them. I understand why you spend so much time in this case, like things like this, all right? And Academic GPT, again, that's another option. As you can see, Academic GPT, you can basically see here, just put all your, and you can even abstract conclusions and so on, presentations, etc. Okay? That's part of a GPT family. And you have one example that we have on the, we have an example of the higher education about the videos that I'll share that with you. Now, this is AI in higher education, all right? And you can use AI in higher education. And I think that, I can't remember, I think it was Unai or someone else here that mentioned perplexity. This is one of them, of course. There are many others, but you can use that, for example, Curipod Almanac, Perplexity, Litmaps, Research Rabbit, etc. There are many others, right? As you can see, they're on the screen. And then I tell my students about using some of them. Now, as a researcher, when I tell my students, when they're doing, for example, TFG, TFMs, masters and so on, and still they learn how to citar, and for me, that's really very strange because you can do that with a click, as I said before, okay? So my perspective with students in higher education is that they are familiar with different large language models and they know how to use them and they can predict some of the problems. They know what problems they find, for example, with Gemini, Google Gemini. They know what problems they will have, for example, with Claude by Anthropic, DeepSeek, etc. And they can tell the difference. So that's when I see that transition, as I said before, right? And they use that again for creative reasons, okay? There's many examples. I'll show you just a couple of them. So you'll see that that one is Perplexity. And I think that only one person actually mentioned this one here. I hope that you are familiar with that one because you can, as you say, cuéntame sobre la Catedral de Santiago de Compostela en gallego, right? I said in gallego, we'll understand that, right? And you see, o templo más emblemático de Galicia, dos destinos, blah, 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 and things like that, right? Now you can say, can you prepare a research plan for me? Because I'm doing a blah, 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 and so on, and it's actually answer those questions. So just to be honest, when my students come and tell me, I don't know what I want to do about the TFG, you know, blah, and so like, you have many options: Cite, Insightful, Litmaps, Research Rabbit, and so on. Find out, use them, because those are based on Web of Science. This is not like Google. So find out about them, and once you have an idea and a very specific question, you come to me and we talk about that, implementation and so on, right? But it's just time management, as I said before. And Research Rabbit, again, one that I recommend to the students, that you can create lessons, and it's also based on artificial intelligence. You open that one, you will see that and explore. And just the videos that you will see, this was here. Well, this one, in fact, Samuel AI, and this is to tell especially teachers about that. You find Samuel AI. My student said, do you use ChatGPT? And one of the students said, no. And the rest of them, some of them said yes, some of them said no. That student who did engineering before, he actually got a very good result. Now, Samuel AI, it can go up to 200,000 words, which is a lot. You can use different styles here, MLA, APA, blah, 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 and all that. I'm not going to talk about the output, about the quality. What I'm saying is that it's there, it's free, they can use it, right? So that's obviously something that you just want to know what's going on, how can I manage, how can I deal with all these options here, okay? And finally, just you see here about the, so I just wanted to show that some of this, that's the digital story, the DST questions. I told my students in higher education to use AI tools to create videos from an inclusive perspective, right? What is that? They needed to choose a topic, they needed to use different AI tools, create a story from an inclusive perspective, and use different lessons based on EFL, on language, and do that with the students. And they created, for example, and that's an example, and I'll finish there. I provided them, I gave them the instructions, as you can see here. This is actually an article that will be published next year in Calico Journal, right, with Caroline Bloom. So you see this one here, for example, they created like different videos, right, and stuff there. And you see this one here, for example, that's the first one. That was about Spider-Man, the first one. And this is a AI video created by my students from an inclusive perspective with a blind Spider-Man.
In the heart of the city, where the sounds of life intertwine with the rhythm of the streets, a remarkable tale begins. Meet Peter Parker, 16, who lives with his Aunt May in Brooklyn, New York.
With their voices.
Although he's visually impaired, he's brilliant and determined. Some blind people use a white crane, while others own a guide dog. In Peter's case, he can rely on his only best friend, Harry. Sadly, their classmates sometimes bully them for being different. Peter and his friend are working on a...
And that's a second, I'll stop here. You see, this one was about bullying, right? San Miguel, from cultural reasons and so on, getting bullied. So this is another one with movement.
Hi, I'm Taylor. I'm 12 years old and I'm part of the Sunflower Room. And where is the Sunflower Room? It's a really good question, right? Well, a sunflower is a representation for hidden disabilities. That's such a big word. It's where I thought too, but disability simply means special, and our group is the best kind of special there is. It all started one afternoon in school. I was grabbing my bag and
So I'll stop there then. So you see different examples with AI, again, using technology in a creative and a transformative manner. Okay, so I hope you enjoyed that, and I don't want to take more of my time with Ramon, so I don't know if you have questions, then obviously ready to answer your questions. Thank you. Fernando.
Bueno, pues me empiezo yo. Me vais a perdonar, pero te voy a preguntar en castellano, José.
Bien, bien, bien.
Porque si no, me vais a fusilar en esta facultad.
my friends, when I heard someone call my name,
Que mi inglés es muy macarrónico. Bueno, yo soy de la Ley General de Educación de la EGB, entonces esto es un desastre. Bien, muchas gracias por tu presentación. Creo que has hecho una panorámica global espectacular respecto acerca de todo lo que implica en todos los niveles educativos, todos los retos que esto supone. Tienes puntos de anclaje en los que coincidimos por las áreas de conocimiento. Nosotros en educación se utilizan muchos de los marcos que tú estás promoviendo. El tecnológical, pedagógical, content knowledge, toda esta estructura que viene del ámbito del conocimiento profesional, el desarrollo profesional docente. Nosotros, sin embargo, hasta estos últimos años tenemos una fractura en el ámbito educativo porque hay una parte de la academia que sigue investigando muy en línea con todos los últimos adelantos que están saliendo en inteligencia artificial, pero también en redes sociales, en cualquiera de los ámbitos, y empiezan a surgir dudas acerca de la pertinencia de tirar para adelante con cualquier herramienta, sea como sea.
Yeah.
Y comparto la inquietud, porque claro, por una parte, y nosotros nos pasa en el grupo de investigación, tenemos una perspectiva muy crítica acerca de la investigación en educación y nos ha llevado a poner peros ante algunas de estas cuestiones. Comentabas antes lo de los Cahoots, por ejemplo, que cuando llegan a la universidad están hasta las narices de hacer Cahoots y dices, vamos a hacer un Kahoot, ya estamos. Pero yo recuerdo Kahoot cuando empezó. Era una empresa, porque es una empresa, que tiene que monetizar la experiencia y ofrecía muchísimas posibilidades al principio.
Correcto.
¿Qué ha pasado ahora con Kahoot? Que se ha cerrado porque tienen que capitalizar toda la inversión. De todas las empresas que comentaste antes, Spotify, por ejemplo, solo ha dado beneficios ahora. Y lleva 20 años metiendo pasta constantemente. Se genera una expectativa muy alta acerca de las posibilidades que el sistema ofrece, pero poco a poco, cuando tenemos al sujeto dentro, a los usuarios dentro, luego es cuando restringimos y monetizamos. Ya sea vía publicidad, vía capitalización de los datos, jugar con la privacidad, esta guerra que hay entre Europa, China y Estados Unidos acerca de dónde vamos. A mí las dudas me surgen ahí, porque cuando me acerco al mundo de la inteligencia artificial me genera dudas acerca de qué pasa con mis datos, porque yo estoy contribuyendo al enriquecimiento de la máquina. Me genera dudas cuando entro en el perfil, me pasó ahora en Nearpod, ¿no? La herramienta que tú dices, está la pestañita del pricing. ¿Qué pasa con el coste? Ahora te doy estas posibilidades, pero la herramienta la tengo yo. A medio plazo puedo quitarte todas esas ventajas, pero ya estás dentro. ChatGPT también te lo ofrece. Cloud, yo uso mucho Cloud, por ejemplo, me gusta la interacción que tiene, pero Cloud rápidamente te saca un mensaje de has llegado a tu límite, pagas o esperas hasta mañana. ¿Qué pasa con estas implicaciones en el espacio educativo? Porque nosotros nos ha pasado, por ejemplo, en el campo de la investigación en tecnología educativa, en el campo nuestro de tecnología, ha habido muchísima investigación sobre redes sociales que se ha vuelto en nuestra contra. mucha investigación acerca de las posibilidades de las redes sociales, y ahora resulta que nos encontramos con que la siguiente regulación apunta hacia los 16 años,
Sí.
para dejarlos fuera, porque se nos ha salido totalmente de control y estamos encontrándonos con riesgos de infoxicación, riesgos incluso a nivel político, democrático, de conocimiento.
Sí, sí.
Salen terraplanistas por todas partes.
Sí, sí.
¿No? Entonces, y terraplanistas que en primaria nos han dicho que la Tierra gira sobre sí misma.
Sí.
Vale. Entonces, ¿qué me podrías decir acerca de todas estas implicaciones? Yo sé que la pregunta es un poco estridente.
No, yo te lo agradezco. Lo que pasa es que es un debate muy complicado en el que quizá me preguntas algo para el que yo no tengo una respuesta mágica.
No, era para compartir
es una
el dilema.
reflexión, efectivamente.
Es el dilema, ¿no? Porque...
Claro, y yo bueno, Melinda quiere, ¿no?, decir alguna, ¿no? A ver, lo que decías, por ejemplo, respecto a los 16 años, de hecho, acaba de aprobarse esta semana en Nueva Zelanda, porque ya lo habían hecho en Australia, el tema del acceso. Igual que el sistema de acceso a videojuegos y demás. Una cosa es la ley, otra cosa es la realidad. Eso también lo sabemos. Porque todos decimos, un niño no tiene tal, pero luego, en fin, estas cuestiones. Entonces, el tema de volverse en contra es algo que, desde mi punto de vista, siempre va a ocurrir, ¿vale? En el caso de las redes sociales o en el caso de, en fin, de otras. Kahoot, que mencionabas anteriormente, para mí es un ejemplo desastroso de cómo se ha gestionado una herramienta supuestamente educativa, que yo la utilicé mucho en su momento, igual que Aurasma, para crear herramientas de realidad aumentada, que era maravillosa, y vino HP, la compró, la fastidió, la puso de pago y ahora te tienes que ir a Onirix, a Zapworks, a tal, que son costosísimas, muy caras, como decía Melinda. Caso de Kahoot, no evolucionaron en una forma correcta, mi opinión, además creo que Ramón conoció la cabeza en Dinamarca en un congreso. El caso de Kahoot es que es decir, cuando tú te cierras y no te quieres integrar, como decía antes, con otras tecnologías, estás muerto, porque en tecnología lo peor que hay es que te quedes parado. Y eso en el mundo tecnológico y más en el tecnológico educativo es vital. Es decir, el caso de Nearpod, que estoy utilizando aquí y ya llevo 5 o 6 años, y al principio yo mismo pensé, veremos qué es lo que ocurre. Pero Nearpod se están actualizando constantemente en base a las nuevas tecnologías que van ocurriendo. Y entonces van introduciendo, por ejemplo, realidad virtual, AI, etcétera, antes que no había. Yo recuerdo Kahoot al principio, que era lo que se llamaba, lo que todavía se llama, ¿no?, el factor novedad en la tecnología. ¡Wow! El factor wow. Pero de repente, cuando salen otras competidoras, ChatGPT, pues fíjate ahora con el problema que es DeepSeek, que tal, que no sé qué. Es inevitable que esto ocurra. Lo importante es que cuando, por ejemplo, el usuario o el consumidor final, que somos sobre todo los educadores, queremos utilizar una herramienta, queremos fundamentalmente la supervivencia, como tú dices, decir, primero, que esos materiales que yo tenga no se queden obsoletos en un año porque han salido nuevas tecnologías y lo que tú me estás dando, léase Kahoot, a mí eso se me queda ya anticuado. Porque yo a mis alumnos, y siempre lo digo, y hay compañeros que lo hacen, cuando voy y les digo en la Universidad de Alicante, vamos a hacer un Kahoot, es, a ver, ¿qué me estás diciendo? ¿Que me metan Facebook a crear una cuenta de Facebook ahora? Sí, o sea, tal. Entonces, claro, son diferentes tal. El tema de la privacidad, que era lo que creo que sobre todo tú lo decía, lo de la supervivencia de los materiales y la integración, la renovación constante. El tema de la privacidad es uno de los temas más difíciles de poder tratar. Pero yo siempre digo lo mismo, a veces nos preocupamos, y es cierto, de cosas de inteligencia artificial que hacemos en nuestra vida diaria con muchísimas otras herramientas que no somos conscientes, empezando por las redes sociales, y que la cantidad de datos o aplicaciones cuando tú te bajas en el móvil y lee usted esto y haces, sí, y le das al sí directamente. La cantidad de información que está dando en muchas aplicaciones, empezando por Google Maps, por YouTube, por no sé qué, son terribles. Con lo cual es muy difícil realmente controlar cuál es el problema y efectivamente la gestión, el Big Data, ¿no?, la información de toda esa información que se está dando. Mi opinión es que la panorámica europea no funciona. Porque aquí estamos muchas veces con una mentalidad muy regulatoria, lo cual está bien y creo que es necesario, pero hay que al mismo tiempo fomentar la parte creativa. Entonces estamos en dos mundos en los que tenemos la parte americana y la parte asiática. Los asiáticos han copiado, bueno, desde DeepSeek han salido como 200 LLMs nuevas, desde DeepSeek. Entonces, al final tendremos que combinar no solo regular datos, privacidad, tal, sino fomentar que desde un punto de vista seguro tengamos herramientas que podamos utilizar. Cuando se creó Internet, los franceses, aquí algunos no lo saben y tal, pero crearon una cosa maravillosa que se llamaba Minitel, porque tenían que usar no sé qué. ¿Qué ocurrió con Minitel? 1, 2, 3 años, muerto. Porque si no tienen usuarios, pues al final aquello acaba muriéndose. Entonces, comparto esa preocupación efectivamente que tú tienes, pero tenemos que trabajar desde el punto de vista de la protección al mismo tiempo que fomentando lo que es el desarrollo de esas tecnologías seguras. Porque si no, pues otras áreas, la gran expansión de la tecnología está principalmente, aparte de Estados Unidos, en Asia. Yo cuando hablo con mis colegas de Hong Kong, de Corea del Sur, de Taiwán, en fin, es impresionante todas las cuestiones que hacen en estos aspectos. Y en Europa, como decía antes María, que estamos hablando con ella, algunos estamos hablando en, pues, ¿no? Ahora que no me oyen mis compañeros de tal, lexicología, el verbo, lexema, ¿qué tal? Que está muy bien, no digo que no, pero vete y luego díselo pues, a la generación alfa y a todos estos con eso. Yo creo que ese es el gran reto, pero comparto contigo esa opinión. No sé si Melinda, perdón por Ramón, Melinda quería decir alguna cosa.
Seré breve. I'll be very quick. But I wanted to point out as well that, and this would be a challenge to the younger generation, that we're talking about the ethics of privacy. We're talking about ethics. Do we bring in young children, et cetera, et cetera? But one of the things that came out with the project that we had with AI with young children is the fact that AI is not very ecological. So the irony of using AI to create a water sustainability campaign, no tiene mesura. And it came back to us. It bit us kind of in the arse there on that one, because it is there. And it's also something I think that we need to consider, and I would challenge the next generation to also think about that. AI is here, but we're going to have to think about how we sustain it ecologically as well. So I just want to throw that out there. I don't think we can answer that today, no? But I do think it's there, and we need to be aware.
Yeah. Great, thank you.